Definitely. So politicians who made this identity, they tried to blame everything on Russia and tried to show Europe in a positive way. So it is not really not European thinking, because European thinking is something different. On the contrary, to take responsibility, to analyze, to criticize, and after this, you can say that more or less our society is democracy. So this Eurocentric nationalism, which is formatted in Georgia, of course tries to push and to blame everything on Russia, on Russian occupation. I think Pushkin is now interpreted that Pushkin is a Russian poet, one of the greatest Russian poets, and Pushkin is simply connected only with its poetry. The function of enlightened Pushkin, who traveled in Georgia, is disappearing now from the history and from the public memory. So understanding of Pushkin in Georgian society, especially in new generations, sometimes they even know the name only Pushkin, they don't know what he wrote. So who was he, what was his personality, and why he was so respected during the Soviets and even nowadays? What is the reason of this? Plus, Pushkin has really such kind of ties with Tbilisi and Georgian reality, because one of the first busts which was opened in Tbilisi was Pushkin's bust, 30 meters away from this place where we are now. So Pushkin Square is still existing, but no one tries to rechange the name of toponymy of Pushkin, because Pushkin is not interpreted that he is exclusively Russian poet. It is interpreted in that way that he is one of the greatest poets, so we need to respect Pushkin for his poetry. Georgians and Polish people have one thing which unites them. More or less, their nation-building process went in Russian Empire, and later on in Georgian case it was Soviet Union, in Polish case it was socialist country, not part of Soviet Union. But I had one interesting case when I asked students, please let's count how many republics used to be in Soviet times. For 3 years, all the students tell me the Poland. So for Georgian students' understanding, sometimes Poland used to be a part of Soviet Union. Comparing these narratives, it's also interesting that, for example, after 2003, when the new narrative, the occupation narrative plus Georgians and Europeans, this narrative was very popular. It is almost the same narrative also in Polish historiography. But of course, Polish historiography and its research is totally different from Georgians one, because they have Institute of National Remembrance, they have different universities where history is quite well taught, and they have very good historians who are really doing great researches in field of history. I mean the 20th century history and Polish national formation process. Unfortunately, Georgia are in this case very peripheral country for European historiography discourses. I think that both countries have such kind of post-imperial traumas toward history, and they try to hide some parts of their history, try to show the glorification of history. For example, what is done by Museum of Resistance in Warsaw, and what is done by the Museum of Occupation in this building. So this is almost the same narratives.